What you are looking at right now is the hottest, most beautiful laptop that I have held in a very long time. But that does not mean that you should buy it. This is the Galaxy Chromebook. So the Galaxy Chromebook comes out sometime in the first quarter of this year, and it starts at $999, which is a lot of money for a Chromebook. But before we get into that value proposition, I just want to take a little bit of time to appreciate this amazing hardware. It has a 13.3-inch 4K UHD AMOLED display. It starts with 8 gigs of RAM and 128 gigs of storage, which is pretty good for a Chromebook. It should be good for about 8 hours of battery life, and most importantly, it has an Intel 10th Gen Core i5 processor. This thing has more than enough processing power to run Chrome OS. Plus, I mean, just look at this thing. This color that you're seeing here is called Fiesta Red, and it is very intense. It also comes in a really boring gray color if you're a really boring person. Go for it if you want to. There are bezels on the top and the sides, but they're super, super thin. You can barely see them, and there is a webcam up there too, so good job on that. The thing is under 10 millimeters thick, which is pretty incredible, and it's also a 2-in-1, so it folds all the way around. It's built out of aluminum. It feels like really good build quality, except for a little bit of wobble on the screen. That $999 that you're paying is for this level of quality on the hardware. So let's go back to that screen for just a minute because it really is the centerpiece of this laptop. It's AMOLED, and Samsung says that it can reach HDR 400, but you should know that you're not going to get that everywhere because a bunch of HDR content is locked behind weird DRM and Chrome OS has to get updated for it. Whatever. It looks really, really beautiful. It is, of course, a touchscreen, and this thing has a stylus that's inside a little garage so you can pop it out and so you can draw with it, and that works about as well as it does in any other Chrome OS device, which is to say, fine. Really, my only complaint about this screen is that it's 16:9, which I don't personally like, but it seems like that's what every laptop is doing these days, so whatever. In terms of ports, it's pretty standard for Chromebooks. There's 2 USB-C ports, and it does have a micro SD card slot for expansion. There's also an 8-megapixel camera on the deck of the keyboard, so you can use it as a camera in tablet mode if you really want to. Speaking of the deck, we should talk about the keyboard that's on the deck. This thing is only 10 millimeters thin, and so the keyboard doesn't have much room to move. So there's only, I don't know, I think it's 1.2 millimeters of key travel, which sounds bad, but it feels okay. The important thing is that Samsung is using traditional scissor switches, so it shouldn't run into the same problems as the Mac's butterfly keyboard. And when I was typing on it, it didn't sound all that loud. Again, the really only problem I noticed was that made the screen wobble a little bit. The thing about Chrome OS is that 90% of people can do 90% of what they need 90% of the time, but it's that other 10% that's the problem. And until Google can start filling in that gap, this Galaxy Chromebook is going to remain a niche product. A very pretty niche, but still a niche. Hey, thank you so much for watching. We're obviously at CES 2020 and we're running around like crazy, pointing cameras at everything we could possibly think of. And so please keep it locked to The Verge to see more of the stuff that we point cameras at.